Perfect. Thank you very much. I think it will be useful for all of us to have it on the screen so we can also others can ask their questions. Please do drop your questions in the chat box or unmute yourself and take part in the conversation. And yes, I will try to also have a look at the chat from time to time if you prefer to ask your questions in writing. So thank you very much once again for your presentation. It was very, very interesting. You have described two models that you've been applying and using. So my first question would be really on what do you think affects your business model the most? And whether, for example, if this element would be taken away, would this be much easier for you to do what you're planning to do?
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay, the good thing with the virtual net metering is that the business model, the economics of the business model are not sensitive to the prices, which is something that we can see right now with the prices getting up. So that's a good thing with the virtual net metering. In addition, buying the energy at the price of the price of the energy of the virtual net metering, it's equal with the price of selling the energy at the retail market and user market. Sorry for that. And again, this is a good price of selling the, let's say, virtually selling the production of the PV. And so, as I mentioned before, one sensitive factor for especially small energy communities or small projects are the operational cost of the energy communities. Since the energy communities are cooperatives, which have quite big expenses for running over the time, that might affect this kind of energy communities. Again, for bigger energy communities with a lot of members, you need to have someone to coordinate the members of the energy community. So again, you have a cost for this administrative process, which again might affect the profitability of the business model.
Thank you very much. I see that there is someone raising hand. Anna, would you like to ask the question?
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. I have a question regarding the revenue structure, especially for the energy poor households. Do you have any numbers on how large these reductions may be? So for example, a percentage of how much the energy bills can be reduced by participating in this business model?
That's nice. Yeah, question. Yeah, actually, the 20 to 30% of the energy production, the General Assembly had decided to give it to poor houses. This for this small project is adequate for 2 to 3 energy households. But no one says how much of the service we are going to provide for the vulnerable groups. So especially for if this project implemented for municipalities, which is another model we have proposed to the municipality of Rafina, to create an energy community, which is in the Greek legislation framework, it's possible for a municipality to create an energy community easier than citizens, and provide the total of the energy production for vulnerable groups. So this gives even more or gives a tool to municipalities to address the problem of energy poverty in the areas.
Okay.
So regarding economics, sorry, I would say that the payback time for our energy community, which is around 7 to 8 years, with the vulnerable groups. If we take out from the business model the vulnerable groups, goes to 5 to 6 years.
Okay, I think that I can see another hand raised, Lucia.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad that Anna asked this question. I also have sort of a sub question to this, because if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that then in a way, energy poor households that are involved with the energy community, they're getting their energy for free. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that otherwise they would be paying for their energy, or is this something that municipality or an association is helping pay?
Okay, there are different schemes in different municipalities. So there are some municipalities that provide support for energy poor households in different ways as well. And there is, let's say, national framework for addressing this aspect as well, with reduced price of the energy, a reduced energy price for this kind of goods. But this goes on top of that. So if for example, can reduce by 60 or 70% the energy bill by participating in the virtual net metering of our energy communities, the rest 20 or 30%, if also included on the scheme of support scheme of the government, to be less, even less. Compared to the normal price.
And just a bit of a different question. If you're doing virtual net metering, that means you have to have a supplier, electricity supplier on board in a way.
Yeah,
for the energy community.
And actually, there is a peculiarity in the Greek legislation that we are trying to address, that every single participants need to be under the same provider.
That's the current regulation, you mean?
Yes.
And this is planning to be changed, or?
Actually, there is no response in our public, let's say, questions regarding the issue. And actually, it doesn't make sense since the DSO is providing the clearing of the energy. So I don't see why the same energy provider should be there. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
I have actually follow-up question about this because you mentioned the regulation. So my question would be, do you think that the regulation as it is right now in Greece, does it go hand in hand with the development of energy communities? Do you think that there are certain aspects which should be still, for your initiative, improved? That is there something that blocks you on everyday basis?
Okay, so different energy communities, they are facing different problems regarding of the how big the energy communities are, how different projects have developed. If you have different projects, you're more stable. So we're a newborn energy community, so we're facing, let's say, the problems of a newborn energy community. So, which is the capital, we do not have capital, so we have to convince the members to invest on the energy community, which is quite difficult. Taking a loan, it's much easier procedure to develop a RES project, and the IRR is better than using members' capital. But I think I missed some of the question, Joshua. Can you repeat your main key point?
I'm sorry, could you repeat? I haven't heard very well.
If you can, if I remember, you asked me what is the main barrier.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
if I can add to that, because I heard you previously say that the energy community cannot take a loan as an energy community, or this is a problem.
For this specific, okay, for collective self-consumption, it's almost impossible to take a loan because you do not have an asset to give to the bank in order to provide the loan. You do not have collateral for that. So even if a different kind of product, like a RES product, producing and selling the price to the market, it could be difficult because the banks are not trust the cooperatives. And we have focused on that with other energy communities. So we have created, let's say, a group trying to convince banks to create a toolbox or a tool for energy communities. And actually, we have taken feedback from which banks you can take a loan for specific energy projects. So this work that already have done in order to identify which banks are more cooperative friendly.
I think that I have also another question, which I think links to what you have just said, because when you were previously answering to the question, you said that, of course, it's difficult to convince people to join a community, basically to get members. So my question is, are Greeks interested in joining these initiatives? If not, why? Do you have any idea?
No, I would say that they're very interesting. What I said before is that it's difficult to provide considerable money for a project, which is obvious, right? It's difficult to convince someone to provide a big amount of money for a renewable energy project. But other schemes like a loan and the project developed with the support of a loan, it's much easier. But it's not collective self-consumption. We prioritize the virtual net metering project because it's saving project, it's energy saving project. So that's why. And furthermore, we're a non-profitable energy community, so we cannot share the profit, which make even more difficult to develop energy projects that participate in the market, because the revenue cannot be distributed. So we have to be very careful of how big this project is going to be, so as to cover only the operational cost of the energy community.
Thank you. I see two raised hands. This Poina?
Yes, it's Rafina. Good morning. I would like to mention in legislation level that recently our government took a decision about the priority of the license, product license of energy communities, and there was a priority for those licenses, but now it's in the same level as every other project. And this is not a good decision for energy communities. I don't think that legislation helps a lot, not even the political framework here in Greece. We are trying to survive in a very in a very difficult situations, and citizens don't have money, don't have the mindset of energy, they don't know what energy is. So we are in a very starting level here without legislation or a political framework helping energy communities. That's what I have realized. And I'm working with municipalities. I work with Ilion municipality, and we are trying to solve energy poverty problem. Even the mayor has started that since 2011. And I'm a PhD candidate in the University of West Attica, and our laboratory trying to help municipalities to that level, and we haven't found a solution yet. It is very disappointing, but makes us to work harder to find a solution.
Thank you. Very interesting.
You're welcome.
Thank you. There is a hand raised by Anna again. Anna?
Yeah. I have to ask a question so that make sure that I understand you right. You said that overall, by participating in this first business model, you can have the reduction of your energy bill by 20 to 40%. Energy poor households, they will get energy for free. But do you think that they get an amount of energy so that they can also have a reduction of 20 to 30%? So is this also a realistic energy bill reduction for the energy poor households, or would it be lower for them? So for example, that they only can reduce their energy bills by 10% for via the free electricity?
Yeah, probably I didn't describe well the savings. So in the virtual net metering depends on the capacity of the PV that you have installed, and of course the capacity of consumption. So you can reduce even 100%. You have adequate capacity of production. The only problem with that is that if you go for 100%, you might lose some energy that is going to exceed the consumption. So getting back to the energy households, the poor energy households, I would say that again depend on the consumption and the share that provided by the energy community. So you can share a bigger, you can provide a bigger share of the PV plant and cover the 70 or the 80% of the household. So everything depends on the shares that each member and the poor households are taking out of the plant.
Okay, thank you.
So to add something on what the Despina provides regarding the legislation, that's a good point, since there was let's say a conflict between the communities and the ministry regarding this issue. So there was this phenomenon that fake energy communities arise a lot of within this legislation framework, trying to take the advantage of the priority of the energy project. So we see a great amount of fake energy communities trying to take the advantage of that. We had actually made a map of the energy communities, and we found that a lot of them was not fake, but not citizen-based energy communities. And as a response to that, the energy ministry forwarded to this action to, let's say, put the energy community at the same level with the energy companies, which is not fair at all.
So we can say that they were somehow abusing a little bit, and this is
Yes.
where
Not
the legislative
One of the
changes are
main
coming from.
problems with the renewable energy project is the priority of the project. So you have to wait a lot in order to take priority and connect it to the system. So it was an incentive that was well defined for the energy communities. So yeah, I would say that it's discriminating for the energy communities at this point.
Very interesting. I think that we can. What I would like to focus this discussion a little bit now, if you don't have other questions, people in this breakout room, I would like to see a little bit how you see your initiative growing, to have an outlook a little bit on the future. What is the plan? Because you've mentioned that your initiative was established in December 2019, that you're there not for long. You're a kind of new initiative yourself. So how do you see it growing, taking into consideration all the obstacles that you can may see on your way, but also possible benefits?
At the moment, we are focused on the current project because we are facing few issues in order to implement it. But again, we have plans for the future. I didn't mention before that a lot of the members of the energy community have a strong bind with the University of National University of Athens, and we make this energy community in order also to run research around the energy communities, either in the in the field of local markets by simulating real energy communities performing local markets, and also to give our, let's say, technology knowledge of the energy system, to then provide our knowledge by supporting energy communities, our energy community and other energy communities. So that was this close relation with the university that also defines our future plans. So one part of our plans is to run some research on energy communities. That's why we are participating on on European research projects, and also our research projects. I mean, that goes out of our research objectives. And on the other hand, we're looking for ways to increase the energy community by creating new projects. There was another idea of a big energy project implemented by various energy communities, not only for the members of our energy community, which is going to, our idea is that this is going to bring closer the energy communities by designing a big project collaboratively. And on the other side, creating or providing a revenue for operational cost of the energy community. So the idea was to create collectively the project so as to cover our operating costs.
Thank you. And probably at the last question, because I think that we might be running out of time very soon. I wouldn't like this room to be just cut at some random point. Do you think that the models you're using, that they could be easily replicated in other contexts, geographical, but maybe economic context? Do you think that your model is, your business model is replicable?
I mentioned before as well, that's why I present two similar business models. Yes, we can find this specific model running from the city of Rafina and Athens up to the whole continent of the country with different sizes. So yes, it's absolutely replicable. and the bigger the project, the better the revenue for the participants due to the scale of the project. And also expandably on the other, let's say, forms, energy communities, not citizen energy communities, but municipality-based energy communities. So we can see municipalities creating, we have already municipalities creating energy communities, since the legislation allow few members, which might be the municipality, some companies